They were seconds away from being ignored, just like every other day, when suddenly everything stopped, and what happened next left even Simon Cowell completely speechless. Before we dive in, if you believe talent can come from anywhere, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because this story might just change the way you see the world. The streets of London were alive with noise, cars rushing past, people glued to their phones, and the usual chaos of a city that never slows down. In the middle of all that stood three young street performers, a 16-year-old boy named Amir, his 12-year-old sister Layla, and their closest friend, Daniel, who was 17. Their clothes were worn, their shoes slightly torn, but their eyes held something rare, hope. Every evening, they sat up near a busy square, hoping someone would stop, listen, and maybe drop a coin. But most people didn't. Some glanced for a second, some smiled politely, but almost everyone kept walking. Amir carried an old, scratched guitar that had seen better days. Layla had a soft but powerful voice, and Daniel beat rhythms on a small drum made from a repurposed bucket. Together, they created something magical, but magic is often invisible when no one is willing to see it. That evening felt different, though. Not because the crowd had changed, but because they had nothing left to lose. Amir looked at his sister and said quietly, "This is it. Let's give everything we've got." Layla nodded. Her stomach was empty, her throat dry, but her heart was full of determination. They began to play. At first, it was the same story, people walking by, distracted and uninterested. But then Layla started to sing. Her voice cut through the noise like a beam of light. It wasn't just beautiful, it was raw, emotional, and real. It carried pain, struggle, and dreams all at once. A few people slowed down. Then a few more. Daniel's rhythm grew stronger, Amir's guitar echoed perfectly with Layla's voice, and suddenly, something shifted. The crowd began to gather. Among them, a man in dark sunglasses and a simple jacket stopped walking. He wasn't trying to be noticed, but his presence carried weight. It was Simon Cowell. At first, he just listened. But within seconds, his expression changed. The usual critical, composed look softened into something rare, surprise, and then genuine admiration. The performance wasn't perfect. It wasn't polished. But it was something even more powerful, it was real. Layla closed her eyes as she sang the final note, pouring every ounce of her heart into it. And then, silence. For a brief moment, the world seemed to pause. Then the crowd erupted into applause. People who had once ignored them were now cheering, clapping, even recording the moment. Some had tears in their eyes. Amir looked around in disbelief. This had never happened before. And then, something even more unbelievable happened. Simon stepped forward. The crowd parted as he approached the trio. Amir's hands began to shake. Layla froze. Daniel stopped breathing for a second. Simon looked at them carefully, then said, "Who taught you to do that?" Amir swallowed nervously. "No one, we just practice." Simon nodded slowly. "Good. Because that wasn't normal. That was special." Layla couldn't believe what she was hearing. Simon continued, "I've seen thousands of performances, but that stopped me in my tracks." The crowd went silent again, hanging on to every word. "Have you ever thought about performing on a bigger stage?" he asked. Amir looked at his sister, then back at Simon. "We've dreamed about it, but we don't have the means." Simon smiled slightly. "Well, now you might." That single moment changed everything. Within days, a video of their street performance went viral. Millions of people watched, shared, and commented. Messages poured in from all over the world. They were invited to audition for a major talent show. But the journey wasn't easy. On the day of the audition, fear crept in. The stage was massive, the lights blinding, and the audience intimidating. This wasn't the street anymore. "What if we mess up?" Daniel whispered. Layla held his hand. "We've already faced worse. Let's just do what we always do, feel the music." They stepped onto the stage. Simon was there again, sitting at the judges' panel, watching them with a calm but curious expression. Amir took a deep breath and began to play. And once again, magic happened. This time, the entire auditorium felt it. Layla's voice soared, stronger than ever. Daniel's rhythm carried energy through the room. Amir's guitar tied it all together like a heartbeat. When they finished, the silence returned, but this time, it was heavier, more powerful. And then, a standing ovation. Simon stood up too. "I knew it," he said. "I knew from the street that you had something incredible. But this is just the beginning." Tears rolled down Layla's face. They had gone from being invisible to unforgettable. Their story became a symbol of hope. A reminder that talent doesn't need a perfect stage, it just needs a chance. And sometimes, all it takes is one person to stop, listen, and believe. So if you've ever felt unnoticed, unheard, or overlooked, remember this: your moment can come when you least expect it. Don't stop. Don't give up. Because one day, the world might stop for you too. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more powerful stories that remind us all miracles still happen. They were about to pack up and leave, another night, another failure, when suddenly a single voice from the crowd said, "Wait, sing that again." And in that moment, everything changed, even catching the attention of Simon Cowell in a way no one could have imagined. Before we continue, if you love stories that prove dreams really do come true, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because this one will stay with you forever. It was a cold evening, and the city lights flickered across wet streets after a light rain. People walked faster than usual, trying to get home, avoiding eye contact with anything that might slow them down, including 3 street performers standing near a subway entrance. Zayn, 17, held a cheap microphone connected to a small speaker that barely worked. His younger brother, Ali, only 13, stood beside him, nervous but ready. And their cousin, Sarah, 15, wrapped her thin shawl tighter around herself, her eyes scanning the crowd that refused to notice them. They weren't just performing for money. They were performing to survive. Their father had fallen sick months ago, and everything changed. School became a luxury. Music became their only option. "Just one good night," Zayn whispered. "That's all we need." Ali nodded, though his hands were trembling. Sarah closed her eyes for a second, silently praying. They started performing. The first song barely got any attention. A few coins dropped into their small box, but nothing more. People passed by like shadows, present, but distant. By the second song, Ali's voice cracked slightly. His confidence began to slip. "Maybe we should go," Sarah said softly. But Zayn shook his head. "One last song." He looked at Ali. "Sing it from your heart. Forget everyone else." Ali took a deep breath. And then, he began. His voice was soft at first, almost lost in the noise of the city. But then something changed. Maybe it was the emotion, maybe it was the pain, but his voice grew stronger, deeper, filled with something real. A woman walking by suddenly stopped. Then a man turned around. Then another. Within seconds, a small crowd began to form. Sarah joined in with harmony, her voice blending beautifully. Zayn adjusted the mic, his hands steady now, his belief returning. People weren't just hearing them. They were feeling them. And standing at the edge of the crowd was a man who rarely stopped for anything. Simon Cowell had been walking past quietly, unnoticed, until that voice pulled him in. He crossed his arms, watching closely. No stage. No lights. No perfection. Just raw talent. When the song ended, there was a moment of silence. Then applause broke out loud, unexpected, powerful. Ali looked shocked. Sarah covered her mouth in disbelief. Zayn just stood there, frozen. And then Simon stepped forward. "Who told you you're street performers?" he asked calmly. Zayn looked confused. We just sing here." Simon shook his head slightly. "No. You're not just anything. The